How you doing, Met fans? Welcome to another edition of the Terry Collins Show, presented by Tunnel of Towers, supporting America's greatest heroes. Donate just $11 per month by going to t2t.org. That's T2T.org. I'm John Arezzi. We're still coming off a high from last week's show with Jerry Seinfeld, which is blown up on social media, giving our show the biggest fan engagement in the show's history. We thank Jerry Seinfeld once again for coming on the show. Everybody really loved it. It was a special one. And if you missed it, it's on our YouTube channel, all the podcast platforms. You can catch clips on our Instagram page, on our X page. But it really did move the needle in so many ways, which we knew it would. And Jerry and Terry talking baseball the way they did, a very entertaining episode, one that we'll remember forever. It was a great, great show. Speaking of great shows, we got another one lined up for you today. We will have our leadoff with Laura Albanese coming up in just a second. Terry Collins will join us as well. When we were down in Florida, Marsh and I, our creative director, we were invited to Terry's home. We have an inside look today at TC at home. We will be talking to Terry direct from that office where he does the podcast. He's got some really cool memorabilia to show us as well. So that'll be later on in today's program. We also have a new Never Forget story about 9/11, and this one will feature Laura Albanese. And we have some new great offers from Coachs Collectibles, which we'll talk about, and the announcement of 3 big upcoming special events with Met players that you'll get to have the opportunity to watch some ball games in person with some of the Mets legends. But before we get to all of it, I just want to thank everybody again for all their support and all their follows and everything else. The momentum of the show is really picking up a lot of steam, and we appreciate each and every one of you for listening or watching. And right now, let's get to that leadoff with Laura Albanese. As we do each and every week, we have the leadoff. And let's say hi for this week's leadoff to the Mets beat writer from Newsday, analyst for SNY's Baseball Night in New York. She's a podcaster, and you can now hear her in the booth with Howie Rose every Mets home game in the 4th inning. Let's welcome back Laura Albanese. Laura, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing really, really good. You know, we're still coming off the high from the Jerry Seinfeld episode last week.
Congratulations. That was an awesome listen.
He was so good. And It was such great baseball talk as well. And he's so into the Mets and their history, and obviously a super fan. Mm-hmm. But it was a great discussion, and a lot of people who commented on it was like, look how into baseball Jerry is when he's asking the questions to Terry. And I just loved it. And you get the benefit of having, 3 million followers on Instagram when he collaborates on a post, and just that the new eyeballs that come to you. We're astounded at the way the numbers have increased. So anyway, it was very cool. And
it is very cool. And it shows you just how baseball creates community. Like you could be right. Just an actor that you grew up watching, and, but you're all just baseball fans and you're all just enjoying it.
I still can't believe that I talked to him. And I can't believe that before we started taping, he says he watches the show every week.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
That blew me away.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it was a good week, and we're back here for another week, and the Mets had a interesting week. Let's put it that way.
Very much so.
Opening day, we record the leadoff with you and Sal and Terry last week, and it's like the new look Mets, all the at-bats, everything is going great. This is the way the team is going to look. Everyone's excited. Then they go on the road, and they go to St. Louis, and all of a sudden, it's Panic City again.
I know. Oh, my goodness. And of course, it had to be the rebuilding St. Louis Cardinals who just walloped them.
I know. And it was like, oh, no. And then, of course, they go to San Francisco, and they win. They lose Soto, which we will discuss in a bit. And but they take 3 or 4 with
Mhm.
all these guys that you didn't expect to like deliver. So it was a very schizophrenic week for the franchise, and it goes to show: don't get high, don't get low until September, when things really start to hit, when things count. Because right now it's like, who the heck knows what's going to happen week to week, day to day.
Right. I mean, you could even recall, like, Carlos Mendoza's first week as a manager, where they go on this losing streak and everyone's pulling their hair out. And then they go on to have a magical 2024 season. I mean, like, when you look at these small sample sizes, sure, there are trends that you want to look at, things you want to keep your eye on. But it's 162 games. And there's a reason it's 162 games. It's because it tells the story of a season. And you kind of have to let things play their course. And we're gonna see what version of the Mets is the real version, but it's gonna take time.
It will. It's going to take time for sure, but I'm happy that they were able to win 3 or 4, and to see some fresh faces coming up in the clutch, and so we'll go over that. But everyone's so quirky about people just go crazy, high or low, and then there's like a jinx or luck. And someone even posted, I saw, we're 2-0 in the Carlos Mendoza glasses era.
Oh my goodness. We're just looking for anything at this point.
So like everyone's crazy.
Wait, should I put on my glasses now? My blue light glasses? There we go.
Oh, if they lose, you're one of those.
I was like, oh no, they're 0-1 and the Laura Albanese blue light glasses.
It's crazy. And I'm finding it so entertaining, and because I'm right there in that fan category and always have been for 60 years. And I go, all of a sudden they're great. And then they, it's like, it's a roller coaster. But as Jerry Seinfeld aptly put it last week, the team is your companion. They're a lifelong companion. And,
right.
And you go up the roller coaster, you ride the roller coaster with them. But I get as crazy as everybody else sometimes. Maybe not as crazy as Sal or a guy like Evan Roberts, but I still have my ups and downs, but I'm happy right now because we're on an off day.
Yes.
They go back home, and Mark Vientos is back.
Mark Vientos looks very, very good. I mean, I was looking at some of his hard hit rate, his barrel percentage. He's among the top of the team. And when you look at the admittedly horrible spring training that he had, there were concerns just because, like, not necessarily did you think that Mark Vientos was broken because of spring training. I never look at spring training as something, as indicative of that. Guys are still kind of getting acclimated to the season and all these other things. But you also just have to look at where was he going to get his opportunities. And especially in the first couple games of the season, it felt like he might have been the odd man out because you have Polanco and you have Beatty and everyone still thinks of Vientos as a defensive liability, but we've also seen improvements there in his first base defense as well. And again, we're talking about overreacting to little things. It was too soon to overreact to Mark Vientos, maybe not being able to put it together. We still have to find out. We still need to learn more about this player, because I do feel like could be a little bit of a make or break season for him.
I do too. But it seems like right now he stepped into a time machine and went back to 2024.
Yes.
Which was a very good version of him. But we'll see. It's going to be day to day, but right now he's on fire. And I guess if you're Carlos Mendoza, you can't take him out of the lineup right now. He's got to play every day.
No, I think at this point, there are some guys who are struggling right now. So you do have to play the hot hand. Mark Vientos is the hot hand. I had written about this as well. I love the addition of JD Martinez coming to join the team. And that one of the reasons is because, I spoke to Mark about it. JD Martinez was instrumental in that 2024 season in terms of taking Mark under his wing. The two are very, very close. He says he's like a brother to him. So while I don't think it's going to be like a fairy tale, like godmother situation, I do think it could be helpful to have a guy with JD's kind of like cerebral approach to hitting, take a little bit more of a mentorship role, especially when it comes to someone who respects him as much as Mark Vientos does.
Yeah, he was Vientos's guru a couple of years ago, and now that he's back, did he officially start back yet with the Mets, JD?
So I believe the plan, and it was still kind of like in the works, was that he was going to join the team this homestand. Okay. I guess I'll find out tomorrow if that worked out, or if he's going to join them a little bit later.
A great addition, and and it's coincidence right now that Mark got hot when JD is returning to the Mets in the front office in an on-field capacity in some ways. So we'll keep hoping that this is the Vientos that everybody knows he has the potential. This could be the guy. Let's see where it unfolds. We can't get ahead of ourselves because, as we all know, it's baseball.
Right.
But who would know? Who would think that Jared Young would, all of a sudden become Juan Soto in left field?
I mean, over the course of a season, you're going to need those surprises. You're going to need those guys who step up. You're going to need a Luis Torrens coming in the clutch. You're going to need Jared Young to get hot. We tend to look down at like we're looking at the 25th, 26th man on the roster, whatever you want to call it. That entire roster needs to be able to do something over the course of 162 games. And you do look to see Jared Young kind of come into his own just because he provides so much versatility in the field as well. He's a sure hand at first base and he can play left field. You can kind of move him around. And when Carlos Mendoza has that type of flexibility in the lineup, he can do more things, especially when you're working around guys who are getting off to kind of cold starts.
Yeah, when you have guys like Jared Young and Beatty, guys who could play in different positions from one game to the next, even a young kid like Carson Bench who can go from right to center, but we'll get into him in a second. But it's a lot of flexibility, and a lot of it boils down to like that, when Soto rounded second base in San Francisco and he pulled up with what's been diagnosed now as a mild calf strain, it creates concern. Now, getting to Soto, I know they did an MRI. I know it showed a calf strain, and he's listed as day-to-day. What have you heard? Is there any updates regarding Soto since we have last heard the official reports?
I mean, that's kind of just what it is. I personally wouldn't be surprised if maybe they do put him on the IL retroactive to injury. He is too valuable a piece for a mild calf strain to become something far more severe. I know he wants to be out there. He's been a very durable player his entire career. It's too much of a gamble. It's too much of a risk. I mean, we are looking at a Soto who looks absolutely locked in for the first week of the season. I mean, he's Juan Soto. He's one of the best players on the planet. But to have Juan Soto kind of like at this level already, I don't think you could risk the Mets would be cooked without him. I mean, I genuinely believe that. I don't think that's like a grand statement either. So this is the sort of thing where, especially if the team is humming a little bit more, which is what we saw in this Giants series, I would rather personally be extremely cautious with your $765 million investment.
Yeah, and it's a soft tissue situation, and sometimes it could lead to a serious Achilles type of injury. Right. And the fact that the weather in New York this week is going to be pretty cold, you don't want him to start and stop or get out there and risk anything. So if they put him on the IL, I mean, they can backdate it as well, and he can come back as early as the Dodgers series, I believe, in Los Angeles next week.
I believe they would be able to backdate it. Oh, yeah, 3 days, I think April 4th, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think that while you never want to lose Soto for any period of time, he's also just like sitting on the bench right now because you don't want to take a risk. So
no, that would be wise on the franchise's behalf and Soto's personal health to just sit it out, be the cheerleader on the bench, come back as early as LA, and then pick up where you left off. And it's just better for the whole team, the whole city, all of us Met fans who are like, this is the guy. Because he goes down, like you said, they're cooked.
Yeah. And maybe not to overstate the thing, but like even on the bench, Soto is valuable. Like even if he's on the IL, he's got that eye. He has the ability to see what pitchers are doing and how they're attacking hitters. It's not like he's just going to be sitting there and not paying attention to the game. There's still value in Juan Soto. Even that's how good he is. There's still value to him even when he's not playing.
That is very, very true. And one kid I want to get to is Carson Bench, and he's looked lost since that big opening day that he had with the home run. And, he's gotten a few walks, but he looks overmatched. His aggressiveness that we saw in spring training doesn't seem to be there right now. How long do you think how long do you think that Mendy and David Stearns give him before they were like, well, maybe he needs some time in AAA? Because he really hasn't spent an enormous amount of time in AAA or in the minor leagues.
No, not at all. He started last year, and like we're looking at this kid, and we're like, well, why is he start? He started last year in High A Brooklyn.
Yes.
This is a player that has had very limited period of time against elite pitchers. So I would give him a little bit more time because he's shown an ability to acclimate. He is very much an instinctual hitter. He doesn't overthink things too much, and that is a weapon of his. I spoke to his college coach during spring break, Josh Holliday, and he had mentioned that, like when you look at a guy like Carson Bench, again, this is not he's like, well, because he also coached Noel McLean. It's like Noel McLean kind of goes there with kind of like this more like very cerebral sort of like, that's the way that he pitches. And then Carson Bench is a little bit of the opposite. Again, a very instinctual hitter, doesn't like to strike out, likes to make contact. When you get in trouble, though, is when you have this much pressure on you. And Carson Bench does have a lot of pressure. And every time he goes up to bat and he has an uncompetitive at bat, the pressure mounts and mounts and mounts. And suddenly you get into your own head. When you have a player who's one of his big gifts is the ability to see the ball, hit the ball, getting into your own head it's a dangerous kind of gambit, So you're seeing him expand the zone a little bit. You're seeing him maybe not do damage on pitches where he generally would be able to do damage. And I do think some of that just comes with time. It could be as simple as, stringing a few hits together and getting out of your own head, and or maybe understanding a little bit more what pitchers are trying to do against you.
Yeah, well, we wish him the best and hope he bounces back out of it because he's got enormous potential, and that's why he's on the squad. That's why he made the major leagues. David Stearns is not I got a confirmation that Hojo will be joining us. So that's a good get, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let me lower that, but that's exciting news. Let's talk about Kodai Senga for a second and the starting rotation. Now, Senga pitched with regular rest. And is that the first time he's pitched on regular rest since the Mets brought him to the team? Or is it's an anomaly that he did it, but maybe it's time for him to start pitching on regular rest instead of that extra day that they had to work around him.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's very much an anomaly. And, speaking to Kodai Senga, again, over spring training, he was like, I never said I couldn't go on regular rest. Even when I first got here, I didn't say I needed, that extra day. And I think right now you're really seeing a pitcher who's rejuvenated. We tend to forget the humanity of the sport sometimes because of the big contracts and everything else. But the level of frustration that Senga felt because his body was not right for 2 years was very evident in his personality. And you learned that from Carlos Mendoza, who's like, since I have been manager of the New York Mets, Kodai Senga has not been fully healthy, even when he had that really good first half last year. And he's like a different person. It's like the personality is coming out. He's joking more. He's lighthearted. And that translates onto the field. I mean, this is still a kid's game. And the best way to excel at a kid's game is 1, to be supremely talented, and 2, to have fun doing it. And you can't have fun if your body's not working. And so, I feel like if he continues on this path, every 5th day, why not? He's not made of paper. Like he is a major league pitcher. I think sometimes I heard him say that, there's a little bit of a kind of like this idea that that players who come from the Japanese league can't do it, but it's almost like a little bit of a stereotype. It's just because they pitch once a week in Japan doesn't mean that they cannot train their bodies to pitch every 5 days here.
Yeah. And he's been through a lot. I mean, he was demoted last year, and that confidence, but he's such a hard worker and so determined, and he's very focused. And so we're happy to see that he's kind of reemerged, and to have him as a solid part of this Mets rotation with Peralta and Nolan. And I mean, it could be a pretty dynamic starting rotation, if everyone stays healthy, for one. But it looks pretty promising right now. So that's a very cool thing. I do want to turn into another bit of a topic here, and you've become quite the the foodie person, like when it comes to beat writers, and
Very much so.
it's very engaging because there's always this entertaining clip that you post up on your social media, and you were, of course, in St. Louis for that series, and you had the opportunity. And I know you've always, as a true Italian, a full-blooded Italian, fried ravioli was never kind of like, that's
It's
kind of
not a thing.
that's kind of taboo, for Italians. It's like fried ravioli. What are you kidding? But
Right.
you seem to like, you had it. You was like, okay, it's okay, all right. I didn't hate it, but
Right.
but then there was a post you put up on your socials, and it was about was it Emos Pizza or Imos?
I believe it's pronounced Emos. I might be wrong.
Mhm.
I'm almost certain it's pronounced Emos.
Okay, we're going to play this clip for everybody, and then after it, on the other side, we're going to talk about what you have planned this season when it comes to this culinary critic aspect of your career.
I'm in St. Louis. I've got to do it. Do I want to do it? No. Did I talk myself out of this a couple times? Yes. We have Emos, whatever. The thing with the fake cheese. It's made with Provel, which is a cheese adjacent product, which is not a word or phrase I ever want to say in my life, but here we go. Okay. So I like the sort of bar crust thing that they've got going on, but the cheese has like this weird artificial smokiness that kind of sticks to the top of your palate for no reason at all. I am utterly convinced that no one has ever tasted this sober, because like people like swear by it, and clearly you have had too much tequila or something has burned the taste buds right off your mouth. I did get a side of ranch because I hear people in other states like to dip their pizza in ranch, and I wanted an authentic experience because why not? Surprisingly, the ranch does not hide the taste of the cheese. Is it the worst thing I've ever tasted? No. Does it have to exist? Also, no. But, like St. Louis, I applaud your bravery. No one asked for this and no one wanted this. And you said, I don't care. I'm gonna create the world's most mediocre food and make sure that legions of people are, for some reason, absolutely dedicated to it. And for that, I salute you. So, it's a lot of pizza left here. I got some hot sauce. I'm just gonna throw some hot sauce on it. Just throw hot sauce on everything. It's fine. All right, bye. People got so mad at me.
They did?
On TikTok. Well, I should clear the air here. Provel is not a fake cheese. It's a highly processed cheese.
Which is almost the same thing.
Which is basically the same thing. But yes, the allegiance to St. Louis style Emo's pizza is very, very strong. And good for them.
Good for them. If they could tolerate it, good for them. You need your own Food Network show, I believe. There should be a show. You should have your own show, and it just goes around with ballpark food and doing these types of shows. So that could be something in your future. What I'm wanting to know is that this season you're obviously on the road for the full season, traveling to most of the stadiums around the country. Now, is this something we could look forward to as we follow your journey across the country this year? And what stadiums are you most interested in either returning to try their cuisine or experiencing for the first time? It could be in the ballpark or it could be in the city itself.
So actually the best ballpark food I had last year was at Orioles, at the Orioles Park. Better than Citi Field, I thought. Some of the there was like some Asian fusion foods in there that were really, really good. I really, really want to try. And it's not even, it's more of a shtick than anything. But at T-Mobile, where the Mariners play, you can get your food in a ferry boat, which I think is kind of nice. Instead of like a helmet, you know how people have nachos and helmets or whatever, they have a ferry boat. And I had actually tried, and I didn't have this at the park, but there used to be something that they did here in New York City called MLB Food Fest, where they would have foods from the various ballparks. So I have, in fact, had the toasted grasshoppers that they had at T-Mobile Park. So I did that.
Toasted
Grasshoppers.
What do you mean? Like the drink or the food? Or like the insect?
No, like the insect. So,
oh my God, how was that?
I tried that once. They had like a nacho dust coating on that. And I also tried at MLB Foods Fest, which I never need to try again. For the Colorado Rockies, they have Rocky Mountain oysters.
Oh, I know what those are.
Do not suggest. Never.
I'm not even going to say what they're made of.
Look it up. But
look it up out there if you're interested. But the first time I ever heard of that, because I got relatives in Colorado, and they were like, "You got to try these Rocky Mountain oysters," and I'm like, "Is it fish?"
Sure. No. So I certainly put myself in these positions. When I went to Cincinnati last year, and I had the infamous Skyline chili.
Yeah, we played that here.
Yes. So
quite entertaining.
I always say, try stuff once, you never know. And then you never have to do it again if you don't like it.
Yeah. Well, it seems to, and the final question about food, but it seems to be that not only is there a rivalry in New York between the Mets and the Yankees for dominance when it comes to baseball, but they seem to be competing with food.
Yeah.
And the Yankees are launching a couple of interesting items this year that sell out. Is there correct me if I'm wrong, is there a fried, it looks like a chicken leg, but it's actually ice cream inside of it.
It is. And so when I go to Yankee Stadium next, I will be trying that. I will be bringing my Lactaid. It was fun. Last year I covered the Yankees for the first part of the season, in addition to the Mets. And I found the food at Yankee Stadium last year to be better than Citi Fields. So when I go back there this year for the Subway Series, I'm going to have to test that theory again, because some of the food, I don't know if it was just some hiccups early on in the season. Some of the food at Citi has not really been as good as it used to be. I think sometimes when you try to do too many different elements or try to do like too many different things, maybe quality can drop off a little bit. But again, it's opening day for everybody, so maybe it'll get better as the season goes on.
Yeah. I haven't been to Yankee Stadium in a few years, but that item did interest me. It was like it's ice cream deep fried in cornflakes.
Yeah.
And instead of the chicken bone, it's actually a pretzel.
Yeah, I mean, like, how bad could it be?
I'll try that.
I would try that. That sounds pretty good, actually.
I tell you one thing that has got me irritated, and then we'll wrap it up. But I've noticed that at Citi Field, I love, the Mr. Softies, and I love soft serve ever since I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But what I noticed recently, and I don't know if it was just I caught it on a bad day or a couple bad days, that ice cream doesn't taste the same anymore. It tastes like Fluffernutter in a way.
Really?
It's just don't have that consistency. And when I go to a ball game, I'll have a hot dog or or a hamburger and maybe a small Nathan's fries. I'm pretty traditional what I like. And I always like to get an ice cream in the fourth or fifth inning, and I'll wait on the line just because I live here in Tennessee and I don't get Carvel or I don't get a Mr. Softy. And then when you try it and when you taste it for the first time, something's amiss.
Oh, that's the worst. So I'm lactose intolerant, so I haven't tried the ice cream because I didn't bring my Lactaid with me. But like, come on. I mean,
I hope not. It was like disappointing.
Yeah, anyway. Something nostalgic with ice cream. Don't mess with that.
Yeah. Look at peanut butter cups. I mean, there was a big thing with Reese's, and now they're going back to the old recipe, which was supposed to be chocolate and peanut butter. So anyway,
they did taste different. Okay, now I know why.
Yeah, there was this big story about it. One of the founders' grandsons was like, they changed the recipe, especially with the Easter, the Easter bunny. It was not the real chocolate or peanut butter.
Oh my goodness!
Processed.
You've just blown my mind because Reese's used to be my favorites, and I had one recently. I'm like, it doesn't hit like it used to.
No, but there's good news. There was such an outcry about it, and especially the legacy of the grandson, that beginning in 2027, they're going back to the original recipe.
That makes me happy.
You don't know what you eat, what you're consuming anymore, which is just part of the world today. But anyway, Laura, I want to thank you again. I do want to plug beginning next week. I mean, you taped that really in-depth interview with Terry Collins down at Port St. Lucie, kind of going over his entire career, and we're going to begin playing that right here on the Terry Collins Show next week. So we look forward to that, and we look forward to bringing you on again. We always appreciate your insights, and we want to thank you. And before we let you go, as always, let everybody know where they can read your stories, listen to your podcast, and now hear you in the booth and see you on TV. So you're pretty busy.
I'm doing a lot of stuff. You can read my stuff at newsday.com/Mets. You can follow my coverage on X, Albanese Laura, and my podcast, a sports and pop culture podcast, where we just have fun. It's a first-time listener, long-time caller on Spotify and Apple Pods. And then I'm on Instagram as well at Laura Writes Stuff. And at the fourth inning of home games with Howie Rose on the radio, which is cool.
Excellent. And the podcast is very cool. You're getting such amazing guests. You're getting, you've got Keith Hernandez, and you've had a Gary Cohen, and I guess you taped a good one this week too.
Yeah. So tomorrow, Tuesday, the episode drops. We'll be speaking to Daniel Murphy, who I know has been on this podcast. One of the most incisive baseball minds. I just love learning from him.
Well, you and Cole have a great chemistry, and you bring on these great guests, and it's quirky, and it's not just it's everything. It's pop culture, which I really love.
Yeah, whatever we want, basically.
All right, Laura, have a great week.
Thank you. You too, John.
Okay. Another great leadoff segment with Laura Albanese right here at the Terry Collins Show, and Laura's so cool, and I did have to bring up all of the cuisine reviews that she's been doing, and it's a big thing for her, and it really is turning into something that a lot of people really enjoy when they're on social media for Laura Albanese. So we look forward to that, and also we will be debuting next week right here once again that in-depth conversation that she had with Terry Collins down in Florida. So those special talking with TCs, Laura going over the career of Terry Collins with Terry himself will be something that we'll play over the next several weeks right here at the show. Before we get to anything else, we want to tell you about our presenting sponsor, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. They never sleep, and each and every day, new events, new announcements come out to support their mission. For example, this week, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is proud to be providing those mortgage-free homes to families of 7 U.S. service members killed during the Iran war. Each of these 7 survived by young children. So that war that's still ongoing, Tunnel to Towers has already stepped in to provide these mortgage-free homes for all of those families of those members killed during this war. And it's part of their mission. It's part of their day-to-day mission. If a service member is killed in the line of duty, leaves behind a young family, the foundation will pay off their mortgage or buy them a home. But they can't do this without your help. Please donate $11 a month at t2t.org. $11. It's the price of one fancy coffee or drink. In honor of the Gold Star Spouses Day in the first week of April this week, Tunnel to Towers has provided forever homes to the families of 30 fallen American heroes. Each of the 30 made the ultimate sacrifice serving our country. The foundation has paid off the mortgages or provided mortgage-free homes so the surviving spouses and their young children can have financial stability. You can help Tunnel to Towers on its mission to do good by donating $11 a month at t2t.org. That's t2t.org. And finally, during the last week of March, Tunnel to Towers presented specially adapted smart homes to 3 of America's greatest heroes. The 3 were catastrophically injured while serving their country or community. The men and their families now live in the Let Us Do Good Village in Florida. The village is exclusive for Tunnel to Towers home recipients. You can help families like these and learn more by going to t2t.org. Your donation of $11 a month can transform lives. And we will be back with a special Talking with TC direct from TC's home in Florida and a special look inside his office. And he'll share some great stories with us right after this word from the radio voice of the New York Mets, Howie Rose, on behalf of Tunnel to Towers.
My wife and I are very proud to donate to Tunnel to Towers. It's remarkable to me that in the years since its inception, they've been able to provide so much. The commitment that they've made to not forget and to embrace those who have been affected but are in many cases thriving today because of what Tunnel to Towers has done for them. It's so transcendent of $11 a month.
Here you go.
So yeah, this is the room I do my podcasts in. Basically, a little office. I have all the setup stuff.
So you transmit around the world from right here,
right
Terry.
there. Yeah, that's where I do it from. Yeah, right there.
About 5 years ago, did you ever think you'd be, this media darling and
No.
SNY and
No.
podcasting
No.
and anything like that?
No, I didn't. I will tell you, John, the one year when the Mets called me and asked me to help Howie with the radio, or Howie was going to be out. Howie was sick. And go to New York and do a weekend with Wayne Randazzo, who was Howie's partner. And I was surprised about, the prep and how they got to go through it. Well, then 2 years later, or a year later, they asked me to do with Howie at the end of the season in Miami. And that is when I got a real eye-opening experience about how hard and how much these guys work before they do a telecast. And then during the game, they're Howie's broadcasting the game. In the meantime, the producer's sticking an advertisement in front of him. And he's right after the next pitch, he's got to do the advertisement. It's crazy. So I learned a lot. So when I got into it, I just said, look, I'll do it. But in my time of all that preparation, the day I left managing was the day I didn't need to want to prep anymore. So, I've watched enough videos, I've written enough notes, and all the data, all the stuff, all the things we had to do in all those meetings. I was done with it. So,
well, you're so good though with the spontaneous questions anyway. You don't really need to do a lot of prep.
Because it's the game. If you're asking me about a certain player, hey, look, what do you think about his fastball? I need to find out about his fastball. But it's the same thing. John, I've said it for years. When we faced Doc Holliday or we faced Clayton Kershaw, I knew who couldn't hit those guys, and I know who had a chance to hit them. And if you go back in 2016 in the playoffs, I played T.J. Rivera because I knew he had the best chance to hit Bumgarner, and he did. He hit a double.
Yeah.
So I don't need any numbers to tell me that stuff. So
right.
Anyway, I don't. That's why I don't do a lot. So yeah.
So
this is the thing that my sister made for me, and this is my father playing softball in Midland. And this is his glove. You can see no laces, just a little mitten kind of a thing, even though it had individual fingers. And this championship ring.
That's a special memento. Too.
Yeah, that was. And you got to remember now, John, the whole story behind that Dow ACs program is called the Dow Athletic Club. They call them the Dow ACs. These guys came from all over the country and came together at Dow. My father ended up being labor relations coordinator at Dow. A few years later, after he played, he stepped down. After I was born, he said, I need to get a real job. So he became the foreman of one of the warehouses that produced styron that made styrofoam. Dow made the majority of styrofoam in the country. Dow made all the aspirin in the country. Mm-hmm. So, and then the rest of the stuff is just mine. So when I was at Eastern Michigan in the national tournament, I won a gold glove as the defensive player of the tournament. Well, years later, the glove broke. The trophy disintegrated. So one of the new coaches at Eastern Michigan sent me this, and it's, as you can see, it's the gold glove. It's from Rawlings, but it's the Gold Glove Company, and they in Eastern were green and white, so they had our emblem, my number, and my name, and he said this is to replace the trophy that broke. So I put it up as a trophy. I've never caught a ball with it, but
it's pretty cool.
Anyway, yeah, and this is one of my truly great awards. This came from Jeff Wilpon, and I'll pull it out here. This is when I broke the record for.
It's pretty heavy.
Yeah, this is from Tiffany's.
Wow.
When I broke the record for all-time tenure as a manager, Jeff brought me this, and Beautiful award. That's
Yes.
one I cherish a lot. And then after 2015, Dennis Gilbert, who headed up a group that really was trying to help scouts out, had an annual awards, and they gave me the managerial achievement award when Tommy Lasorda presented it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, all my years with the Dodgers, it was very cool to get Tommy's stuff, and then I've got some balls. This ball came from the last game I ever managed.
Wow.
In Philadelphia. This is a ball a fan gave me one day, and he had
Look at that.
did a drawing of me on the side of the ball. This was in the spring of 2016. And then
That's your ring.
yeah, this is my championship ring that we got. Only wear it once in a while, not very often.
Yeah, but that's what a
Yeah.
memento. I mean, that's so cool that they even give the National League champion and whoever did win the World Series a ring as well. Those
Yeah,
things are
and
cool.
you were there. I think you were at the.
This was QVC, right?
QVC, yep. They gave me that nice little award. And this is my first year managing, and it's pretty cool. Mike Pelfrey was pitching, but I got Wright, Reyes, Murphy. Ike Davis had to be there, but totally just a picture of me on the mound with those guys. And then my sister found this picture and put it in a frame, and she said, "This would be you, Tiger Stadium." And it's not me, but she said this would have been you at an empty Major League Baseball stadium. Little boy sitting in the outfield waiting for a game with his glove. So that would have been. She said that would have been you. So I kept that. And then when I was in New York, I went to the Empire State Building. David Wright, I think Murph, and Dylan G, I believe, was the other guy. And we went to the top, up here of the Empire State Building, way up here, where you had to walk up a ladder to get out. And they had a little walkway about this big around, all the way around the thing.
Yeah.
So and they gave us that as just something to remember. And that's pretty much all I've kept over the years.
Well, it's the stuff that means the most to you.
Yeah, well, I had it. This was cool. They handed these out one time, my rotation, and then I bought this in Kansas City at a little store in Kansas City. Thought it was kind of cool. So, and that's it.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's and this is where it all happens.
Yeah, and of course I'm a big golfer, so
absolutely.
And Leroy Neiman, I got to meet Leroy Neiman years ago.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that's Greg Norman, and I got one here that's at Pebble Beach with Jack Nicklaus, and then Ryder Cup in Kentucky. Just some beautiful pictures that he painted. And
how great is it that I guess
and
Marsh was asking?
I'll show you now. I'll just show you this. This is the bat I used in college.
It's a big one.
Well, we used big bats, but I also choked up this high.
Yeah.
So it didn't make it as big as you thought. But
how big is it? How
it's
the ounces and stuff?
It's 34.
Got it.
Yeah, 34 inches and 34 ounces, and choked up. And of course, I stood on top of the plate so you could get away from. You can imagine, I didn't break a lot of bats when you're choking up this far.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my stuff.
All right, Terry, listen, appreciate it very much. Thank you so much for the tour.
It's all right.
That was really cool to spend time with Terry at his home to get some of that feel of where he does this show from, and to see some of that memorabilia. And Terry, once again, was a great host. Well, Marsh and I were down in Florida, so we will be debuting next week here that talk that Laura Albanese had with him. So look forward to that. Well, the Tunnel to Towers documentary, Never Forget How Baseball Helped New York Heal, is currently airing on the streaming service Fox Nation. Each week this season on our show, we're going to feature a Never Forget story, hearing from those ball players, front office personnel, broadcaster, or reporter on their own 9/11 story. 25 years later, we must all never forget that tragic day. New York beat writer Laura Albanese was at school that day in Brooklyn, New York, when the attacks took place at the World Trade Center. Here she shares her story, and directly after that, we will tell you about another T-2 hero, Sergeant Jason Walker. So let's go to that right now.
I was in Edward R. Murrow High School, and we were just like doing a regular lesson, and a kid busts in, as they often do, and they're like, somebody hit the Twin Towers. And obviously we all thought, it was a joke. And as class went on, somebody came and alerted my teacher that had happened, and time stopped. There had been periodic PA announcements the entire time, inviting kids to go down to either one room or another. Wasn't sure what that meant. And then I heard my name. I heard my name over the PA. I had a feeling it wasn't good. So I go to my chemistry teacher, and I remember him going, what room were you sent to? What room? And I give him the room. He's like, okay. So I go down, and it's my dad. He had come to pick me up. And I kind of figured out at that point that they had one room for the kids whose parents were coming to pick them up, and one room for kids who maybe their parents worked at World Trade, or they couldn't get in contact with their parents, or they had heard something. And there were plenty of kids who lost people. Again, this is a school in Brooklyn. I found out that my brothers and my brother-in-law all walked the bridge and made it back to our apartment. But I remember pulling up to my apartment in Brooklyn, in Bay Ridge at that point. I lived in Bensonhurst, then Bay Ridge. And there was just ash everywhere. And I was like, this is people. This is... And just the footprints, like that's emblazoned in my brain, the footprints walking up to my apartment and thinking about how absolutely nothing would be the same. And then after that, I just sat in front of the TV and watched it over and over and over again and waited for my family members to come home and realized that a lot of people didn't have family members coming home. And it doesn't leave you.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation embodies the best of America, taking care of those who took care of us. Today we gather to celebrate a hero, the veteran who gave so much for our country.
Sergeant Walker, on behalf of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation and the Silla family, we are proud to welcome you home.
Wow.
We are here to give a house to Jason Walker, a smart home recipient that has sacrificed his well-being for the sake of our country so that we could live in freedom. And this house is going to give Jason some independence and dignity back in his life.
It was my second tour to Afghanistan. I was a bomb finder. We were out on a dismounted patrol, and we were crossing a ditch. And the landmine was on the other side. I wound up losing my left leg.
Oh man, that's beautiful, wonderful.
My family background is mostly Navy. My mother served, my father served. I was the first Marine in the family. I knew as a younger age, like, yeah, I'm going to serve. It was, for me, it was just a calling. This house, it's overwhelming when you look at it. To be able to own a home, which is what every American's dream is to have their own home. They can say, this is mine.
I didn't realize how big it was gonna be.
The roll-in shower is definitely a huge plus. I mean, it's huge. The fact that the stovetop can move up and down, everything's kind of where it's easy level for me to reach from my chair. You know, Tunnel to Towers has been like family. They changed my life. The motto of let's do good is really something they do.
By giving $11 a month, you're joining us on our mission to do good. Go to T2T.org to make a positive impact.
Once again, you could watch the entire documentary, Never Forget How Baseball Helped Heal New York, a production of Tunnel to Towers, exclusively on Fox Nation. And now we want to tell you about Coachs Collectibles, your source for guaranteed 100% authentic and unique sports memorabilia. This week, go to coachescollectiblesnewyork.com and pick up your replica 1986 Mets World Championship ring. Own a piece of Mets history with this offer. You could choose from Keith Hernandez, Doc Gooden, Darryl Strawberry, Gary Carter, Jesse Orozco, or Howard Johnson, and use the code TCSHOW for free shipping. And once again, 10% of all sales go to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. And I just want to give you an idea of these rings. Of course, Marsh has a photo up as we do this segment about that offer for the 86 replica rings. But just to give you an idea of the quality, when I first met Dom from Coach's Collectibles last year at a Bobby Valentine event, I saw these incredible rings there. So I'm going to show you them right here, just the detail alone of them. And I will show you what it looks like on your hand. And here's the ring that the Mets handed out a couple years ago. So there is quite a difference in these rings. They're really good as a memento. They all come with these cases as well that you could display anywhere you'd like to in your Mets man cave. But it's a great item to have. You could pick it up at coachescollectiblesnewyork.com. And Dom is also helping us with so many different things now. And he has secured the appearance of Howard Johnson for us. So we look forward to talking to Howard. And ironically, I found out that Howard Johnson and his baseball academy is literally around the corner from where I live here in Middle Tennessee. I could walk to it. So we'll have great stories with Howard Johnson here next week on the show. So we look forward to that very, very much. He's doing some amazing things down here with some of the kids with his baseball academy that he runs with his son. So we'll get into more of that next week. But we also want to tell you about, before we wrap up this spot with Coach's Collectibles, they're doing some really cool watch parties all season long. You could get a chance to watch Met games with Met legends. This Sunday, April the 12th, for example, watch the Mets against the, I guess you could call them, not the Las Vegas A's, but the A's of Sacramento right now. So watch the Mets versus the A's. You can meet Doc Gooden and watch the game along with him. That's April the 12th. And they'll be doing another one on April the 25th where you can watch the Mets versus the Rockies game with Edgardo Alfonso and Ray Ordonez, members of that 2000 championship team. These events will take place at Bull's Smith Tavern in Smithtown out on Long Island. And finally, a private signing with the radio voice of the Mets and member of their Hall of Fame, Howie Rose, happens this month. And you can order your Howie items and find out more about the watch-alongs by going to coachescollectiblesnewyork.com for more information. Before we wrap it up, I want to remind you to check out Amazing Conversations with Jay Horowitz, a New York Mets podcast hosted by the foremost Mets historian. Jay brings on guests from all eras in Mets history. Don't forget to check out the recent episode with Terry Collins and Tunnel to Towers Steven Siller Jr. discussing the documentary Never Forget How Baseball Helped New York Heal. That is streaming right now. Amazing Conversations with Jay Horowitz, available on all podcast platforms. Speaking of podcast platforms and subscribing, you could subscribe to the Terry Collins Show on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple, Spotify. You could also watch it on Spotify now, which is really cool. Or you could go to our YouTube channel. Just hit subscribe on the platform of your choice. Go to youtube.com/The Terry Collins Show. And all that great Jerry Seinfeld content is now up. About 4 or 5 little shorts, the full show. You can also watch this entire show on there. If you just want to watch the Jerry interview, that's separated as well in a video. So plenty of content up on that YouTube channel. And we really would like you to subscribe to it. That really helps us when it comes to our analytics. And don't forget to go to Instagram and X at Terry Collins _10 and subscribe and like us and follow us there as well, because you'll be the first to know what's going on with the Terry Collins Show. This is going to wrap up this edition of the show. I want to thank our creative director, Marsh, for all the incredible work that he does, hours and hours of editing and putting together these pieces for us, and the show looks so aesthetically amazing each and every show. So Marsh is doing a great job. I want to thank him for all of the work he puts in, and also our researcher Dominic DiBiase, doing some research on Howard Johnson for us. I knew he was involved with baseball, but then Dom was like, "Hey, Uncle, he has a baseball academy in Franklin, Tennessee," and I was like, I didn't know that. And lo and behold, it's around the corner from where I live, which is crazy. But anyway, we'll have Howard Johnson on with us next week. Laura Albanese is talking with TC with Terry himself. We'll have another leadoff. We'll have another great show this week, and we appreciate you watching or listening on your platforms each and every week. Thanks for joining us, and have a great week, everyone.